Hey guys, Al here with Vitalized Seed. Hope everybody's doing well. Today, the topic is water infiltration. So, we talk a lot about soil chemical structure with base saturations, right? And that's going to be something that you see on your soil test. You can also take physical observations, right, of your soil structure and things. Then we talk a lot about, in conjunction with that, with our soil structure based on the biological component of the soil, right? So root exudation, microbial systems, fungal systems, the byproducts of those systems that are creating what they call biotic glues, which are helping the soil to aggregate together. So again, you get the small clumpy soil, and on your root structures, you see the rhizoschist or the Rastafarian roots, as Nicole Masters and several others referred to them, where it's sticking to the roots and you don't have bare roots. So it's indication of good microbial function within your soil. But why is that important? Well, obviously there's a we could talk for 3 days straight on the importance of all of that. But one of the things that I think is not often talked about is water infiltration. So a lot of times in the past 2 years, specifically in the summer, specifically to the Midwest, and I'm sure there's other areas, but obviously that's where my home is, so I'm more familiar with that. There was a lot of discussion about drought around early to midsummer, and some people did get rains. And why is water infiltration so important? Because when you have water infiltrate your soil, as you see on the far left of this diagram, now that's showing it going all the way down to the water table. But what I do like that it shows living plants on the far left. When your water is able to go into the soil, so it's slowed down because you have thatch covering the soil, so it's not causing soil compaction. And then you have a living system and you have a balanced chemical system as far as the base saturations of your soil go. Now what you are able to do is actually capture that water. And that water goes down in and it seeps in and your roots are there, and you reduce the evaporation from heat. So what happens in the summertime, right? You do get a real hard storm typically, and it rains like a son of a gun, and then the next 2 days are going to be 85 degrees and it's going to be really hot. So you have evaporation occurring, right? Well, in this situation, that water is able to infiltrate down in, and your roots are there, and it's in all those little channels, so it's good for your microbial system. Obviously, it's good for your roots. It's good for your plants. Well, what happens if we don't have good water infiltration? We don't have good biology in our soil, and we don't have base saturations well monitored, and maybe we've really created a situation where compaction's an issue, or we don't have thatch, right? We're kind of doing things the traditional way, and you get this big heavy rain. The water can't infiltrate. Well, why? Well, because compaction. The rain's making it worse because there's nothing to slow down the rainfall. It's compacting it further. So what happens? Well, that water just sits on top. And what happens when the water sits on top? Well, it's going to either create runoff and take topsoil and nutrients with it, or it's just going to sit on top and evaporate, but it can't infiltrate in. It would be like trying to infiltrate a blacktop. So that's something to keep in mind, is not only when you do all of the things that we talk about at Vitalized Seed, with focusing on good soil testing, focusing on base saturation, focusing on biology. The reason that is beneficial in the long run is because you're reducing the stress on the plant, and you're giving your plants a much higher likelihood of success, not only from the nutrient uptake and all of those things that we talk about, but even from a water infiltration into the soil perspective. That's going to be a heavy stress reducer on plants so that they can withstand things like drought better. Now, that even gets further it gets more complex, but it gets further, more exciting, I should say, because when you have good fungal systems, there's a lot of science that goes into showing how those fungi can actually help to aid plants that are growing next to each other synergistically by sharing water resources, which is really, really cool, and a whole nother discussion for another day. So hopefully y'all found that interesting. Water infiltration, what can we do to maximize it? We can focus on good base saturations specific to our CEC or soil type, and also maximizing biology so we have good water stable aggregates in our soil profile. So instead of letting that water run off, it goes down in. If you guys like this, please share, subscribe, and follow along, and check us out at vitalizedseed.com.